Here we go. Are you enjoying all the 50 Cent fat jokes, by the way?
Let me just say, I'm glad that I was kind of preoccupied during the half because I would have been so offended. I just would have.
Would you like to go back and look at it so you could be offended with everybody else?
Oh,
And by everybody else, I mean no one else.
Frame by frame. I saw a thing about that Charlie Kirk. Okay, isn't he like an incel? Isn't he like a 26-year-old guy who has like never?
Not to make fun of the plight, but he's clearly mentally ill. I don't know about an incel, but maybe.
But don't you have to be that way to have been offended by the halftime show?
I think so, probably. What was his take that it's like the filthiest thing that's ever been on television? It shouldn't be allowed.
Yes, he's famous. It shouldn't be allowed. Yes.
The people who hate censorship when Joe Rogan is being censored now they want this to be allowed.
Right. Because as you know, the FCC does control podcasts, but not television. So
I'm ready.
It is the Brad and Britt cast, our first post Super Bowl 2022 Brad and Britt cast. Before we get to the meat of whatever courses we're going to be serving today, I have to tell you something, Britt. You made a big mistake yesterday. We have a big Super Bowl party. You and me and a couple of our old Rock 92 buddies, and we reminisce about the old days, and we watch the game, and we eat too much, and we have a good time. Yeah. And inevitably, every year, somebody leaves something behind.
Yeah.
All right. And this is what you left at my house, Britt. Here it is.
Yeah, there it is.
I'm holding up a bottle of Ken's Steakhouse, great for dipping, chunky blue cheese dressing, but it's not just the size, it's the double size. It's 32 ounces. Okay,
it's the club size. Yeah, it's the
yeah. Now, well, I'm just going to say this, and don't hear me and think, oh, he doesn't mean this. If you don't pick this up within 48 hours, it's going to die. I'm going to take it outside. I'm going to blow it up.
Wasn't that the cover of a?
It's going to get hurt.
That was the cover of a National Lampoon magazine. Is that what that was?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Okay.
Well, yes, I'll try to make arrangements. Oh, and don't ask us. We can't figure out exactly what Matthew McConaughey was trying to advertise for. We think it was Earth. We think it was a commercial for Earth, but we don't know. We have no idea.
Yeah. Can I just? I really don't want to play the let's go through commercials thing because first of all, you didn't watch most of them, and I didn't watch most of them, and so let's not pretend. But I think just I'm trying to think about what the general tone that was bleeding through, which was these were not political. They were trying to be goofy. Did anybody get kicked in the nuts? Because there was a couple years there where there were at least 5 Super Bowl commercials where someone got kneed in the groin, and that was the joke. And right, I don't think that happened. We've gotten past that apparently.
The most slapsticky of all of them was the Larry David one. That was the one that was kind of I guess
a lot of money spent to make these commercials look good, and so you know what that means? It means America is back. No, it doesn't. No, actually, it doesn't. But at least the truckers didn't screw it up, and so
how's that trucker protest going? How'd that work out for you, Rand Paul? You fuck, get your ass back to Duke, you dumbass.
Right. Okay.
It was cryptocurrency and plug-in vehicles. Those are the things that I saw advertised for, and some seltzer. There was some seltzer last night.
Seltzer, yeah.
That's what I saw. If you're
Not
an
to be
American,
confused with famous character actor Milton Seltzer.
no, not Milton. So no, it was plug-in, and a meadow soprano and her brother survived the hail of bullets in the diner.
Yeah, again. Right.
And it's different because Matthew McConaughey, when he's doing the Lincoln commercials, he's out cruising for dope. He's looking to make a dope deal. Last night, I don't know what he was trying to do. I have no idea what he was trying to do last night.
All right, I got just a whole slew of great stuff. What the fuck is wrong with Ted Budd? Does Trump hate the Jews? Famous coach retiring from job in Durham, North Carolina. Desperate loser named Durham, still doing Trump's dirty work, coming up empty. He should retire. If having a black woman on the Supreme Court gives them a nervous breakdown, then of course the Super Bowl halftime show is the end of civilization again. Law professor defends Madison Cawthorn. Dumbest and smartest states. We haven't done a list for a while. We got a new one. And Gestapo girl tries to be funny.
She did try to play it off. Let me do Trump and the Jews for 1,000, Alex.
Okay, all right. This come up several times over the reign of Trump because of his support, at least winking support of Nazis and anti-Semites and those who revolve around them. And Joshua Shanes is director of the Arnold Center for Israel Studies at the College of Charleston, not too far from where we speak. And here's the quote from Mr. Shanes. The politics of Trumpism are fascist, and that is a danger whether Trump returns to power or not. The parallels between what happened in Nazi Germany and the white nationalism mainstreamed by Trump are unmistakable. Professor Shane says that Trump's impact in fostering extremism grounded in racism and anti-Semitism is not mitigated by having Jewish grandchildren of his own. Yeah. Of course, Trump's daughter married, Ivanka converted to Orthodox Judaism before she married a piece of shit, Jared Kushner, in 2009. Shane says it's in there. And Shane says the destruction of democratic institutions is as much of a threat to Jews and other minorities as the rhetoric itself. So you get the point there. I'll stop with the reading. Mm-hmm. That's another issue that kind of gets lost. And I don't want to think, and as you know, I speak on behalf of all Jews. I don't want to think that we're being singled out here in the United States in a directly equivalent way to Nazi Germany in the 1930s, because lots of minorities undergo all kinds of issues. Black people now they're into their 5th century of it in one way or another. Yeah. So you don't want to play this game of one-upsmanship. Who's getting fucked the worst? Although even though the African Americans have 4 centuries now into their 5th. The Jews, we got a couple millennia. And not only that, it's not just here in the United States, it's all over the world. So we got a kind of a worldwide thing going here. And I just thought it's just something worth mentioning, because that bullshit that they used to throw up, well, Ivanka's Jewish, how could he be anti-Semitic, is such a crock. That is just such a crock.
It's next to some of my best friends are black. I mean, it's like that sort of shit, right?
Yeah. Some of my best children are Jewish. Okay.
Yeah. Jesus. I mean, it's not. Yeah, he supports. Okay. Again, not all of the people who support Donald Trump hate Jews, but pretty much everybody who hates Jews loves Donald Trump. That is a statement that is true.
I don't get an argument for me on that. Nope.
That's fairly bulletproof. I'm sorry, and I hate to
say it. No siree, Bob. All right.
It goes back to the Charlottesville thing. It goes back to all that stuff. Let's talk about Ted Budd, your former congressman there, the guy who was a Senate candidate running for that big Senate seat in North Carolina, and he's Donald Trump's pick. He got the endorsement from Donald John Trump Sr., pal.
So Ted Budd goes on the Lars Larson radio show. Now, for those of you who don't know who Lars Larson is what we call in the business a second tier right-wing piece of shit wannabe who is at a certain, he probably got some affiliates on the West Coast, but he never quite made it to the tippy top, right? Is that a fair way to?
He's one of those guys. Yes, that's a correct assessment. He's one of those guys that used to be, I think, an anchor up in the Northwest, maybe in Portland,
Right.
and he saw the light. He's seen the light of how horrible the quote unquote mainstream media is, and he's he's been against it forever.
Well, he's been around about 20, 25 years that I know of. Anyway, so Ted Budd says that Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney are divisive, and they're working with the January 6th committee is getting in the way of, you ready? Freedom-loving Americans. Okay, so Ted Budd is completely on board with the 180-degree twist and lie and distortion and gaslighting of every situation. That's how Trump does it. That's how Ted Budd is going to do it. So eventually you get down to saying that the people who trashed the United States Capitol on January 6th are the heroes. They're the victims. On and on it goes. More from Ted Budd. Lars Larson asked Budd for his response to Mitch McConnell, saying that, of course, January 6th was a violent insurrection for the purpose of trying to prevent a peaceful transfer of power, blah, blah. Okay. So Budd asked Lars Larson, the host, for the context behind McConnell's statements. Apparently, Budd, he didn't know anything about it.
I'm not aware of this.
He didn't know anything about it. Well, I'll tell you what. Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger have been so divisive with this false moralism. They're trying to, save something that didn't need to be saved. It's a false narrative. What the fuck? This is so stupid. This is almost too stupid to talk about. Because, who are you kidding here? Who are you kidding here?
The point of all of this is that the guys that are running for that Senate seat in North Carolina are going to have to out-Trump the next guy, whether it's Mark Walker or whether it's going to be Pat McCrory or whether it's him. And they can't figure out a way to be more of an asshole. And they've got to try. They're looking for a chance to show how big an asshole they can possibly be.
Right. Well, I hate to jump in here with just a bit of reality coming from Pat McCrory, but McCrory heard about this, and he said that Budd's comments, which is what we were saying, I didn't even read this until now, that when Ted Budd pretends he doesn't know about what Mitch McConnell said and uses it to attack Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, that he's just deflecting, he's avoiding. And Pat McCrory said, he says that Budd's comments were a means to sidestep the questions about January 6th. Of course, it's time for him to answer tough questions, as I have, said Pat McCrory. So they're going back and forth on this stuff. But the fact that it's even a discussion point, that it's an issue that needs to be decided within Republican primary voters all across the country, of was January 6th a bad thing or a good thing? Don't we need to know not anything more about what happened, because we know what happened? So we just deny what happened, and the last thing we want to do is know more what happened. And we certainly don't want two members of the Republican Party, and they're still Republicans. Yes, they've been censured. You know what? My dick got censured in 1986 for nothing. Okay,
for nothing.
But it was more substantial than what this actually means. Okay, and don't ask why my dick got censured. Don't ask.
Your dick witnessed that whole thing where Rockefeller was with his secretary and said nothing, and so your dick had to be censured.
Right.
That's what happened. And then no, but I also, in Pat McCrory's answer, hear him calling out Ted Budd, but I don't hear him forcefully saying those protesters did the wrong thing on January the 6th of 2021. By God, Ted Budd ought to call him out like I did. Is he saying that, or am I missing it?
Right. A little bit more color here now from the third wheel.
Oh, here we go.
On this, folks, here from Mark Walker.
Here's your loser. Here's your bronze medalist in this thing, no matter what. Go ahead.
And noting that Ted Budd was one of the 147 Republicans who voted to overturn the election that confirmed that Joe Biden did win the presidency. And Pat McCrory has said he would have voted to certify Biden's election. So McCrory is not, he's trying to stake out the ground of being a reasonable person on this issue. Think of him what you wish, but I'm sorry, that's the right thing, of course. Mark Walker said, he said this Friday, he would like to believe he would have too. What does that mean? I would have wanted to, but he doesn't know what information was available at the time, why some members believed that they could overturn the election. Wrong answer. Wrong answer, Walker. Wrong answer, Walker. It was hard because if things were happening in real time, with Mike Pence being told he had the authority to do it. Find out that might not be the case. I think a lot of the former vice president, I like him, but it would have been a game time decision. Holy shit. All right. So
game time decision.
Right. So you got the Three Stooges here. And, Pat McCrory is on this issue. Certainly he's the reasonable one. And, Mark Walker is standing on the edge of the diving board, and Ted Budd has already done the swan dive into the pool of shit of Trumpism, and Walker's right behind him. A lot of states are going through this. Every state is going through this, where there's a Republican primary, not just for Senate, but maybe for governor or for House races, even maybe further down the ballot. I mean, people who run for state offices are going to be getting the same kinds of questions.
They should be getting those questions.
Of course they should.
And it's not hard. It's not a hard question.
It's difficult. You have no idea.
Media coaching. What happened on January 6, 2021 was wrong, and people should not try to violently overthrow the government. Period. End of story. Zip. Full stop. That's what you need to say. If you have any trouble saying that, go back to your point number one. You're an idiot, and you should stop running for office, because it's not a hard call. It really is not a tough call.
And the further I go into this here, and this is a piece from the Charlotte Observer, one of the things that Trump would always count on, and he did it successfully, and we've all talked about it continuously for the 4 years he was in office, and maybe even now he still does it, where he does something so absurd and outrageous, and he counts on the clock on the calendar that several hours, several days, certainly weeks and months later, you can't remember what the fuck happened that was so outrageous, because he's done 25 dumb things since then and horrible things since then.
Correct.
So the Ted Budd senior advisor, quoted in this article, his name was Jonathan Feltz, went after Pat McCrory and said, and of course this has to do with the fact that, again, you're supposed to not remember here that when the committee was being assembled, they wanted to throw who? Jim Jordan,
yeah,
and a couple of other complete in the tank,
yeah,
insurrectionist Confederates onto the committee to fuck things up, to blow it up, right?
Right.
And so Nancy Pelosi, who had the final word, said no, and that's how you end up with Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney. So remember that you're supposed to not remember that when the spokesman for Ted Budd says this: Governor Pat McCrory might support Nancy Pelosi getting to hand select which Republicans can and can't serve on congressional committees, but Ted Budd does not. Speaker Pelosi made it clear that her January 6th committee is a sham and a partisan witch hunt when she kicked conservative Republicans off of the committee. So you have to know nothing, and most people do know nothing, and they don't know that Liz Cheney was one of the most, and still is, one of the most conservative Republicans in the country, and voted with Trump on just about everything that conservatives know and love. Her last name is Cheney. Okay, she's not the daughter of Lon Chaney Jr., Irv Cheney. Who is the Celtics? Don Cheney, Boston Celtics. No, she's Dick Cheney's daughter, very conservative. And Kissinger also very, very conservative. So, but when they say these kinds of things, this is the appeal. This is how Republicans play the Trump game. And we'll see whether it works in North Carolina. It might. You got to know nothing. You got to know nothing.
I don't have a good feel for who wins that primary for the North Carolina Senate seat. I know who loses. I think Mark Walker is your odd man out. I think, and there's like a few people other than them that are running too. There's like 9 people that are running for that seat or something. Isn't that the case?
I don't know.
Those are the big 3, and of course Ted Budd getting the endorsement from Donald Trump, and then McCrory I think finishes second, but I think Mark Walker probably drops out.
Yeah.
Eventually,
Right.
I don't think he's gonna. He's already been rumored to drop out, but then he relaunched the campaign.
Yeah. All right. Here you go. Famous coach retiring from job in Durham, North Carolina. Desperate loser named Durham, still doing Trump's dirty work, coming up empty. He should retire. Or law professor defends Madison Cawthorn. Or dumbest and smartest states, which is I want to do dumbest and smartest states.
Go for it.
Okay. Because and you know how I always pretend that I don't want to do these lists until I find one that I want to do. Okay. And here you go. And this is because there's such a blatant pattern to this, and we can make fun of it, but it really means a lot here. And these are the usual suspects at wallethub.com. Most educated, least educated states, and they did this on educational attainment, so that means most number of people with higher degrees, school quality, and achievement gaps between genders and races. So that sounds like a pretty complex way to do this, but here you go. You want me to start with the least educated or the most educated?
Let's do least educated, and let's see if I can guess some of them.
Right. Well, hang on. And just so you know, as always, in most of these lists, North Carolina comes out in the middle. We're number 29. We're kind of right in the middle there.
America's most mediocre state, North Carolina, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. And you could, I won't even bother to make you guess because they're all so obvious. And here we go. From 50 going up towards, 40 or 41. Okay. West Virginia, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Nevada, New Mexico, Tennessee, South Carolina, number 40, and Texas, by the way, number 39. So all of those states voted in the presidential election for Trump, except for Nevada.
Yeah, Nevada.
New Mexico voted for Biden.
Yeah.
And I think that is it, correct?
I think that's correct, yeah.
Okay. Now, most educated states. We'll go from 10 to 1.
Okay.
We'll go up the list. State of Washington, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Virginia, New Jersey, Vermont, Colorado, Connecticut, Maryland, Massachusetts. That's right. All 10 voted for Joe Biden. So, right. So what does that mean? That means that the Democrats have a problem. It means the Democrats have a problem because they appeal to people in these states that contain a lot of people that may not be able to make a presidential race go Democratic, but in a lot of those states, there are Republican majorities in the state legislatures. They are winning in other areas, and it doesn't matter that the 10 dumbest states are Republicans. It does not matter. That goes to this idea that the Democrats have got the well-educated, and I don't even want to use the word elites because that's just the dumbest fucking word ever to try to use. That the people who have educated themselves, no matter how they've done it, are somehow elite. God damn it! The last thing I want in the next pandemic is some elite doing research and coming up with a vaccine. That's the last fucking thing.
Yeah, I don't want somebody put a shot in my arm helping to save my life. Fuck those elites.
I want some fucking redneck in a pickup truck in Alabama to solve the problem so that America can feel good in the red states about the next vaccine. I don't want some overeducated, triple degree biological scientist to come. I don't want that. But I just found that this is just so, there's almost no exceptions in the top 10 and bottom 10 there. I find it amazing, but not really, because it does speak to the, do Republicans have to appeal to more educated people because they've got the bottom 10? Apparently not. Apparently it means nothing. But the Democrats are in trouble because they do appeal to the most educated people. That sucks. It's unfair.
Well,
you should be.
And via control of the language, being educated has become a pejorative, as you say, with the word elite. I mean, that's what's happened. It's the death of expertise, as they've pointed out. At least one book has that. Yeah, it's become a bad thing if you get more degrees.
Right. And remember when Trump, he was asked this, I think in the 2016 campaign, how come less educated people, how come rednecks, how come people in red, how come they love you so much? And his answer was actually correct. He said, because of the people who hate me.
Well, maybe.
And from a technical standpoint, he's right. You know, I would rather, if I'm in a red state, torture you, okay, than do something good for myself. I would. It doesn't matter as long as you feel.
I love the uneducated. I remember that. I remember at his rallies, he would say that quite frequently. I love the uneducated.
He kind of meant that, and that was a clumsy way to say it. But that's
how do the Republicans usually appeal though to those uneducated or less educated voters? It's all pretty much
it's culture war issue shit. It's all anger. Culture war.
It's anger.
It's anger. It's culture war shit. They're taking away something that you used to have.
The reason that you're living in shit is because of this brown person or this very well educated, this liberal person or this. It's always that sort of thing. So you wonder, and I don't know how the Democrats try to whoop up anger among their people, try to fight anger with anger. I'm not sure exactly how that is.
Well, no, Britt, crime, which cuts across everybody's life. There is no one who's for crime.
No.
There's no one for. They're not. But the way the Republicans have played it over the years is all crime is committed by people not like you.
Exactly.
By people who look different than you, who just arrived over the border within the last 3 weeks, and when they commit that crime. If it's in a Democratic jurisdiction, there are going to be prosecutors who go easy on them. And that has been aided by the fact that in Los Angeles and Philadelphia and New York and in Boston, they have elected, and San Francisco also, of course, prosecutors, chief prosecutors, who have come up with what they think is a different approach. And they are tagged, and it's tough to get out of it. Good luck that they're soft on crime.
Liberal
that we're not going to prosecute what we have decided are not really dangerous crimes. And most people, I don't care where you're coming from, most people are going, what the fuck are they doing? Because it's just, it's not helpful. And then all you need is to run the same video of the same people running in to a jewelry store in Beverly Hills, smashing and taking shit, and you can't see their face, but you can see the color of theirs, and there you go.
Well, that's the
and there's an issue
on Fox News. If they got a black person fucking littering in Altamont Hall, North Carolina, they'll run that video all the time. It's not only the crime thing, but it's also like the people that are on food stamps and on welfare, they look very, very different than you. The people that are overdosing, they look different than you. That's the problem with this country.
Except that they don't. That's what's so.
But that's
they don't again, really.
If we start talking about facts, then we get fucked on this thing. The people who were sucking the teat off the government on Obamacare, they don't look like you. That's what they always try to say.
Hey, by the way, that reminds me. Are you interested in going in with me? We can get a family plan on our Obama phones. We can renew right now. You and I just will call ourselves a family because
I just got a new Obama phone, so I'm good. I'm good for.
Oh, good. All right.
Okay. Voucher comes in.
I'm just asking. All right. That's enough. That's enough of me. Pick something out. You throw something out on the table here. I don't want to do Madison Cawthorn. The very simple shorthand is there's some fucking law professor in Iowa who says that the board in North Carolina has no right to say that Madison Cawthorn is not qualified to be able to run for office again because he violated the part of the 14th Amendment that said if you basically were a Confederate back then, you couldn't hold office. If you participated in any kind of insurrection against the government, you're not allowed to. And so his answer is no board should be able to do that. That should be the province of the people. He should be voted out. This is the same version, a different version of the same thing, which is the answer to shitty speech is more speech. The answer to defamatory speech is more speech. And sometimes that's true, but often it is not. Apparently, it wasn't, according to Sarah Palin, when the New York Times made an egregious error in an editorial 5 years later, and she's now pretending that her life was ruined, which it wasn't. That same editorial, the one that she didn't even complain about when it came out, she said nothing about it until a few years later when she decided to sue that ad that was run with all the targets, supposedly, according to the editorial, not contributed to the shooter in Arizona shooting up Gabby Giffords, which turned out not to be true. And they apologized for it. And they made a correction instantly. Not good enough. And so we'll see I hope a jury does not fall for this, because if the jury falls for it, the New York Times will appeal, and it's going to end up in the Supreme Court, where fuckfaces like Clarence Thomas are ready to do Donald Trump's bidding. We need to open up the libel laws. They're ready to do it, and they're ready to go there.
I do have some news for you. The man who wrote that piece about Madison Cawthorn, his name is Derek T. Muller. And as you mentioned, he does teach at the University of Iowa. Derek T. Muller got his bachelor's degree from Hillsdale College in 2004. And he graduated with a JD from the University of Notre Dame Law School in 2007. There you go. The Hillsdale College cockroaches strike again. You just can't keep them down, Brad.
It's even worse. So that's a guy who went to total off the rails right wing Christian bullshit university and then got his law degree from the same place that spit out Amy Coney Barrett.
There you go. There it is.
Wow. Okay. All right. So good luck to him. All right. What do you got?
Let's do the gazpacho girl. Makes a funny.
Oh God, you had to do it. You had to do it.
I had to go there because it was just such a fun thing.
Yeah. All right, here it is. Come up for me, please.
Yes, that's what she said. Oh, sorry.
She says some of us slip up a word every now and then, but Joe Biden doesn't even know the words coming out of his mouth practically all the time.
Oh, nice comeback.
The good news is that the people know the difference. So in the famous words of someone I hold dear, kofefe.
How funny.
That's right. Many commenters who responded were skeptical that the gaffe was a slip up and suggested that the Congresswoman really thought that gazpacho was the correct word instead of Gestapo. Others pointed out that Green skirted her Twitter ban by tweeting the defense from her congressional account, which is still open. Her personal account got shut down. This is, I guess, as close to an attempt at self-effacing humor that's always laced with a cheap insult that you're going to get. She's small potatoes, but we'll see whether the country will slide down the hellhole towards Gomorrah by elevating people like her back to positions of prominence, which would happen if the Congress were to go Republican in November on the House side. She would. Is there any doubt? I mean, she will get back on committees. She will be in congressional hearings. She will be even more inappropriately prominent in making pronouncements than she is now. I mean, she gets a lot of attention now. In other words, being in Congress doesn't mean that to get attention, you have to do anything even remotely official having to do with the duties of Congress. It's all about getting on Fox News as much as you can.
And she has all the
right.
time for that because she's not on currently any. I mean, again, this you have to be terrible and awful to have Kevin McCarthy strip you of any sort of assignments or anything. And it happened to do with her comments that were, hey, what do you know, anti-Semitic and really awful. And then again, to get on Kevin McCarthy's radar and say, we can't put you on any committees. We'll give you an office and you can make sure people get their Social Security checks. But that's pretty much all we can do for you here, honey. I apologize, but here's your office.
Why do I have the feeling she isn't even that good at constituent service, Britt?
I don't know.
I don't think that she's worried about that either.
Well,
I don't think she has some kind of
that stuff always gets farmed out. And you're either, I mean, the culture is the person there gives a shit about it and is really tough on the staff and makes them follow up on shit. Or
yeah, she really seems like she's that kind of person.
In between appearances on Fox News, I'm sure she really, she drives them pretty hard. I'm pretty sure she's making sure shit gets done in that office. In between appearances, and by the way, that was on the One America News Network, the Gazpacho police thing. That wasn't even on like a legitimate thing. It was on one of their stupid ass shows on the One America News Network when she came out with the Gazpacho police, which is probably the greatest, most viewed clip in the history of that network, I would think. For them, it was damn near the most viral thing ever.
The point is, that doesn't matter. You're putting down because it was on one. It does. Don't you understand? It doesn't matter where it begins. It grows like a weed, no matter where it starts. Whether it's a tweet, whether it's on a not frequently watched network, or some idiot talk show. Everything is everything now. There is nothing too small to, if you make the correct kind of inflammatory or stupid comment, that it won't blow up into what we see it to be. So,
do you think the voters in and around Cedartown, Georgia, are going, I love that she fucked it up. I love that she mispronounced that, got the word wrong. I think it's great.
Britt, they don't know about it.
Oh, it never happened.
They don't know about it.
It just never happened.
It doesn't happen on Fox News. That's the point. Donald Trump did not flush anything down the toilet on Fox News. It never happened.
Right.
There's nothing to say. Donald Trump didn't hide 15 boxes of documents and sneak them out of the White House and send them down to Florida. He didn't do that. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. One person at 11:48 on Sunday on the Howie Kurtz Fuck Fest mentioned it, and then Kurtz goes, well, that might be true. Coming up next, right? So, no, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
And it never
to
happened.
These people. So it never happened.
Tell me about the Durham Report, because that is making news. It is kind of the top story on FoxNews.com anyway, about the Durham Report and how the media completely underplayed it, according to them.
Let's see. Let's see if we can. There we go. This kind of happened on Friday. So this guy John Durham filed some court documents that, like a lot of things from the wonderful world of Trump, have a lot of accusations but not much evidence. And this is an appeal, of course, to the Fox crowd and the conservative supporters of Trump. The claim is that the office of the presidency, i.e. Trump, was being spied upon for a couple of weeks while he was in office. According to Durham, the spying effort on the presidency didn't even start when Trump was president. It started before that, when Obama was in office. See, and that's a way to try to justify and let you know that this isn't all about Hillary Clinton going after Donald Trump. She was going after Barack Obama, too. So one of our least favorite hacks, who we don't talk about very much, but we met him all those years ago when we were in Washington in one of our soirees at a State of the Union or something, Byron York. Byron York writes for the Washington Examiner these days, and even Byron York, who is just as far in the tank as you can get, he says, there's not much there. I don't read a lot. I don't read a lot into this. I'd say, as far as Durham is concerned, a lot of Republicans and the strongest Trump supporters, a lot of them have been disappointed in Durham. Frankly, I think they have expectations that are too high. Some Trump supporters are really not going to be happy unless they see James Comey or Hillary Clinton let out of a door in handcuffs, and this is never going to happen.
It's a fantasy. There's no perp walk. There's none of that stuff.
Right.
There never was.
Right.
Remember the ultimate from the beginning. Donald Trump accused Barack Obama of spying on him up at Trump Tower. That happened back in 2016, right?
Well, but obviously, Barack Obama was being spied upon by Hillary Clinton when Hillary Clinton was still Secretary of State, right?
So, but again, this was in between. But this was in between Hillary's lesbian encounters with Susan Rice, right? She would somehow figure out a way in between all of that, which is part of their
is there video?
No, there's such stupid ass narratives that these people make up. I think it's fucking hilarious, and I don't give a shit who doesn't like it. I think it's fantastic that she's selling "But Her Emails" hats. I think that's fucking funny as shit. I don't give a shit what anybody says. You saw the story over the weekend about
that is the most inappropriate, horrible thing I have ever seen. I can't believe
you saw
she
the
would
story.
Do that.
You saw the story over the weekend in the New York Times about what fuckface is doing, marking those hats up to $50 and all the. He is cashed in on the presidency in ways. I remember when Ronald Reagan left the presidency and he went to Japan and he made these speeches for $1 million. There were certain people,
the world ended. That was the end of the world.
Certain people, like my mother, they clutched their pearls. That wasn't right. That was unpresidential, and that you shouldn't be doing that and stuff. That's kids' play. That's fucking picking up a 20 off of the pavement compared to what Donald Trump is doing right now.
Well, can we take a more macro look at that and just fit it in with everything we know about Trump? What we, the educated elite like us, knew about Trump before he ran for office, while he was running for office, while he was in office, and now, of course, while he leaves office. He is nothing more than a con man, common criminal who works every angle on the edges of the law, and he breaks the law and has figured out how to get away with it like smart criminals do. And was that a Michael Jackson album? What was that name? Smart Criminals? What the fuck was the name of it?
Smooth Criminal.
Smooth Criminal. There you go. There it is.
That was off of the Bad album. The third of the Quincy Jones trilogy, or the third one in the Quincy Jones trilogy.
Look it up. Make sure you know whether it's third or fourth. I need to know.
Well, it was Off the Wall, then there was Thriller, then there was Bad, and it was Smooth Criminal.
Yeah, thank you. How's Tito doing these days? What's up with Tito?
It's a good vodka. I don't know how. I have no idea otherwise how that's happening.
So this, all this, the stuff that he's doing, it just, again, you and I and you listening, you watching, we just are astounded that people would go along with that people would say that's okay because it's just Donald Trump. It's just what they all do. He's no different. He's working the system. He's a brilliant business. They're still there. They're still on that, Britt. They're still there.
This is all he has left to sell. He can sell some memberships at some of these country clubs. He's got that a little bit. There's no wine left to sell. There's no hotels really left to sell. There's none of the vodka or the water or the Trump steaks or the Trump University. This is what he can sell, is these $50 hats, these $7,500 meet and greets at hangers and shit. That's all that is left to sell. I'm telling you.
I saw that Alex Rodriguez is part of the group that might buy the stupid hotel in Washington. And apparently Trump hates Alex Rodriguez.
Well, great. Then the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I now love Alex Rodriguez, even though I thought he's a piece of shit. And even knowing very little about his business acumen, I bet he's a better businessman than Donald Trump.
Oh, he's way better.
Just off the top of my head.
But I got one more thing. Wait a minute. I thought you were a multi-billionaire. Why at age 78? Let's think about this. Why at age 78 are you still scrapping and doing side hustles as if the next rent payment is dependent on you generating cash? If you have the,
he's done.
And the answer is, of course, because he's not, right, of course. But that's what is so infuriatingly obvious to us
Right.
that there are people who don't see that. Hey, hang on, let me get my credit card. I want one of those. Oh,
But
it's
he's
going to
got-
Trump? Good.
Well,
Yeah.
he's
There-
also
there
got
people-
he's got a legion of adult children that are also sucking off the teat. So anything that has to be done when it comes to these rallies, it's always about improving the brand so that he can sell more shit. They crapped out on the Bill O'Reilly tour. They made as much money on, and that thing was a huge disappointment. I was thinking, and I've got the story here, that he might go up and pose with these stupid ass truckers. The bridge is cleared. Why would you not have a photo up there, and then you could start like the Canadian government going, no, you can't come into our country, and then we can start an entire thing about that, and that'll dominate the news for a little while. Have you heard about what these people are doing in Ottawa? I mean, it's more than just shutting down streets. It's domestic terrorism. What is being described by these fuckfaces in Ottawa, and now I guess it's all spread all the way to Western Canada and Calgary. It's nothing less than domestic terrorism. They're fucking with people. They're trying to hurt people. It's not just hurting commerce. These dumbasses on the Ambassador Bridge at least have been cleared so that some people can actually go back to work and build stuff. But there's domestic terrorism that's going on right now in Canada, and people are screaming at Trudeau and the government that the police should be doing a lot more right now, Brad.
Right. Well, Canada is, they're not inclined to bust heads and do things of that sort, and they're certainly not used to the kind of domestic terrorism that we are in the United States, which of course means that there are people that are going to try to take advantage of that, and they are, right? They're doing that, and the dominant story of the last 24 hours is they did finally get the bridge between Detroit and Windsor open again, so that parts could move. But I would just think about how horrible you are if you didn't realize, and I know they don't care, and I know they didn't realize, and it doesn't mean anything, that this was an example of people who were actively, without any shame, contributing to inflation.
Yeah.
They actually figured out a way. How can I make inflation, which is bad here, it's bad everywhere, how can I make it worse? All right, here's what I'll do. I'll make it so that the $325 million worth of trade back and forth between Canada and the United States, Canada, our number one trading partner. No, it's not Mexico. It's not China. It's Canada. Okay. But let's fuck that up and slow down the ability of companies, auto companies, GM, Ford, rest of them, Toyota, from being able to build cars, which they already can't build enough of them right now, which drives the price up even more, which contributes to it. That's a great idea. That will show that I'm about freedom from vaccine mandates. That's a good way to do it. And that's just the beginning. They've thrown every other grievance that you could find on Fox and anywhere else about what's wrong with America and let's go Brandon and all that shit. I mean, it's all there. So you're right. I didn't realize till you told me right now that whatever has happened in Detroit, Windsor, where they've gotten the people to leave, or they figured out they arrested a few people.
Yeah.
But that is like, you just got rid of one cockroach. Exactly. And the whole house is full of them. It's that kind of situation in Canada right now, is it not? And Canada is such an open country that you're going to get the kind of coverage of the situation that you would get if you were in the United States doing the same thing. There's no difference.
Exactly.
So we're gonna see it up close. So your suggestion, or you're surprised that Trump didn't try to show up and exploit this. What was it? Wherever there's someone starving, I'll be there. Wherever a man's out of work, I'll be there. In Trump's case, wherever there's a situation where I can make it worse, I'll be there. That's why I thought he would show up at the Olympics, because of the vacuum created by no other American officials showing up there, because that was the government policy. And Trump, of course, is not part of the government, is he? Except when it comes to retroactively invoking presidential privilege, executive privilege, that he doesn't have over conversations with people who never should have had it in the first place. Then he's still part of the government, right? Still got a gig. All right. That's enough.
We got to go buy some
I'm done.
Bitcoin and a couple of hybrid plugins.
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
Go see what Meadow Soprano's up to.
Yeah.
See.